Welcome to the Man 360 podcast.
You're listening to the Man 360 podcast. My name is Brian, and thank you for spending some time with us today. So Man 360 exists for men to be complete in every way through Christ, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Today on the podcast, I talked to Dr. Jeff Myers. He is the president of Summit Ministries down in Manitou Springs in Colorado, and he really focuses on raising up the next generation. He just wrote a book called Should Christians Support Israel? And we talked about some of the dynamics with Generation Z and how they view the world, how they view Israel from a Christian and a non-Christian kid perspective, which is very, very eye-opening, and shared some really good information and knowledge about Israel and about really the importance of Christians supporting Israel. So here's my conversation with Dr. Jeff Myers. So Dr. Jeff, I'm glad to have you on my podcast today.
Thanks, Brian, man. It's great to be with you.
Thank you.
And thanks for coming down to our place, little hippie town of Manitou Springs.
It's so great. Yeah, I love this city. It's so awesome.
It's a fun little town. It's very interesting spiritually. I will say that.
That's a good word, interesting.
It's interesting, but it is a hippie town, but the hippies are nice.
Yeah.
It's not like some other towns in Colorado near to where you live.
Right. It's so true. As you get further north.
That's right.
No, but it's interesting that God places us where He knows He needs us, and maybe not sometimes where we would always pick or choose, but knowing that He places us there.
Yeah.
I know you wrote a book called Should Christians Support Israel?
Right.
And so just tell me why you wrote the book.
Well, back in October 7th, the Hamas terrorists attacked southern Israel. They slaughtered 1,200 people, raped, mutilated, took 250 hostages, a catastrophe unprecedented in Israel. And very quickly, public opinion among Gen Z turned against Israel. The Harvard CAPS poll in November said that young adults, 51% of them, supported Hamas over Israel, and they thought Hamas's attacks were justified because of Palestinian grievances. That figure rose to 60% in December. So I wrote an opinion editorial piece for Daily Wire, subtly titled, "Congratulations, America, you've raised a generation of terrorist sympathizers."
Tell us how you really feel, Dr. Jeff.
And that got a lot of attention, but it led to the opportunity to do what I'd hoped to do, which is to actually go to the land. I'd been there before a couple of times, but to go there during a time of war, go to the war zone and talk to the people who were actually involved. People on the left, the right, secular, religious, military, non-military, rabbis, journalists, everybody that I could find. And in the process, I came back and realized, first of all, Israel, whether you agree with how it came into existence, most countries' origins stories are not pretty.
Yeah.
Okay. Whether you agree with how it came into existence, Israel has a right to exist. Second of all, there can never be a manageable peace in that region as long as Hamas is a factor. They have to be ended as a military and governing power. Their ability to field a military and to govern in Gaza has to be ended because they are the enemies of the Palestinian people as well as the enemies of Israel.
Right.
And then third, as a Christian, I realized God's not done with the Jewish people. So in the book, I tell the stories of extraordinary encounters with people who are on the front lines in the battle, people who are survivors, people who are hostage, their family members are hostage.
Yeah.
Other people, Arabs, Israelis, Palestinians, just telling all of those stories, but at the same time recognizing there is a knowable truth in this situation.
Yeah.
Truth is not easy to find, but it can be found.
Yeah.
I would say it's not easy, but it's simple. And you can go back and understand what really took place, who's really telling the truth. And it is vital that Christians know because even in the church, young Americans who are Christians, their support has dropped for Israel.
That's
by
amazing
half
to me.
within the last 5 years.
Yeah, I think we had some talking points that we were asking for from your office to get that in. I think you were mentioning that the similarity with non-Christian and Christian in that Hamas supporting really more anti-Israel, right? It's not just Hamas, but just that anti-Israel and their forcefulness is reflected in both those people groups. Like, it doesn't matter whether it's Christian or non-Christian.
No, it doesn't really matter. I have gotten into a few different knockdown dragouts with different interviewers. It won't be the case today.
Well, yeah, we'll see. Who's going to support Israel more?
That's
Maybe
right,
we'll get
yeah.
an argument about that.
Yeah, it's easier when you're on a screen, not right here.
Yeah,
in
it's
person.
true. Within arm's distance.
But we've had a few tense conversations with people who are otherwise I agree with on just about everything over this question. I think the answer is young Americans tend to identify with the underdog.
So no matter what it is,
they've been
they want
taught
the underdog.
all of their lives, don't bully, don't bully, don't bully. You know, there's still bullying and all of that, but what they say, even if it's different than what they in fact do, they will always say, I am for the underdog. They have, those who have been college educated, they've had professors take that desire to stand with the underdog and mold it and shape it into a neo-Marxist kind of framework where it's the oppressor versus the oppressed. And the oppressed are always righteous and the oppressors are always wicked. This is very easy. It's not hard to make moral decisions according to this way of thinking. So kill the oppressors, rescue the oppressed. That is the message. And a lot of young Christians believe that's the biblical message. They believe that the Palestinians are always right because they have suffered more, according to the narrative. And Jesus suffered more, and Jesus was more righteous. Therefore, whoever suffers more now is more righteous.
So it's not really based on whether they think it's right or wrong. It's who they think is right or wrong, right? So it's that relativism of...
Yes.
Because it is still about the underdog, but if you look at it in the fullest extent was obviously Jesus, you just mentioned that. But a part of that too is they're looking at it through their worldview, not really knowing the Bible probably as far as knowing the Word of God and knowing and understanding what is right or what's wrong. And I think too, just that narrative that's built around the legacy media, other people around telling them that, and then saying, these are the people that have been overwhelmed, these are the people that are overwhelming.
Yeah. There's been a subtle ethical shift that most people in the church have not noticed among young Christians. And that is a move towards something that looks more like what Karl Marx called proletariat morality, where the owners of the factories are always evil and the workers are always righteous. And so whatever supports the workers is good, whatever supports the owners is bad. That kind of template now is taken up by young Christians. So it is kind of a relativistic morality, but it's relative to the level of oppression rather than based on some standard of right or wrong that we know we can't always adhere to, but we still agree with. So you do not, when you see young Christians, you do not want to be making the assumption that they think morally in terms of absolute truths the way previous generations did, because they do not.
So pivoting on that point, then what is your ministry doing, and what can maybe listeners do to be able to help reinforce what that younger generation, that Gen Z specifically, what do we do to help encourage that in them to build and to reverse that tide?
The first thing is to recognize that the tide needs to be reversed, that there has been indoctrination taking place, that this rising generation has been propagandized. They've been propagandized intentionally by the progressive left and by anti-Israel forces working in concert with one another. These two groups don't agree on anything if they were actually to come together, except for the fact that they believe Israel should be annihilated. They have that common agreement. The progressive left thinks Israel should be annihilated because they believe that Israel is a proxy of the United States and the United States is evil. Okay? They want to see the demise of America as a constitutional republic. People in Hamas, they're trying to gather and rally support of the Muslim community around the world, Ummah is what it's called, to force Israel off of the map. Some of the people, other players like Iran, they have apocalyptic aims. They want the 12th Imam to return, Muhammad al-Mahdi. He will control the entire world according to the principles of Islam. And the only thing that's keeping that from happening is the existence of the state of Israel. That's Iran's factor in this. And then Israel's surrounding nations are all looking at it saying, They're really doing well with their agriculture. We wish we had that. And so
Right.
there's so many things happening all at one time. This is anything but a simple situation.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure it could be solved, to be honest.
Yeah.
I look at previous offers of a solution. They've never worked. The Palestinians have rejected a two-state solution 4 times.
Right.
They only want a one-state solution with Israel off the map. The Israelis have given, over time, a lot of the land back that they captured in wars when the Palestinians or surrounding nations tried to destroy them.
Yeah.
They've given that land back in exchange for peace. They're not really in the mood for a two-state solution right now either.
Right.
But you can manage conflicts like this. One thing I point out in the book that I haven't seen anyplace else,
Yeah.
I picked up this language when I was in Israel, is the difference between a geopolitical conflict and a theopolitical conflict.
Okay.
So a geopolitical conflict is just a conflict over the ground, the
Right.
land itself. But this is not one of those. This is not about a strip of land in the Middle East. It's about everything, everywhere. It is literally a battle for the future of Judeo-Christian civilization.
Yeah.
And what you have on the other side of this, a theopolitical struggle, is a recognition that what somebody believes and understands about the nature of God and his plan for humanity will dictate what their foreign policy is. That is what is happening in the Middle East that most people have never grasped.
Yeah.
Without grasping that, it can't be managed.
Yeah.
You can manage bad situations. South Korea manages to be prosperous in spite of the fact that it's still at war with North Korea.
Right.
Taiwan manages to be prosperous in spite of the fact that it is still technically a rebel group aligned against the People's Republic of China,
Right.
that China believes needs to be conquered as an independent nation. Not everybody recognizes Taiwan as an independent nation, but you understand the point.
Yeah, for sure.
You're managing these situations, you're not solving them.
Yeah.
I think that's what the solution is going to look like more in this situation. But I think Christians need to care.
Yeah.
I think Christians are maybe some of the Jewish people's best allies right now.
Yeah.
And Christians are the ones who understand what it means to be under attack because of who you are. Because of who you are. No matter the level of your belief, because of who you are as a person,
Yeah.
you deserve death. That's the message that Israel is getting on all sides.
Yeah. Yeah. They're not disconnected from us, I believe, as Christians, because it's like we need to see them. And I think too, for the younger generations, and I don't think it's lost on the older people,
Right.
pacing that and showing the younger generation how to support Israel, I think is very important.
Yeah.
So in the microcosm of the family, just to kind of wrap this up, what can parents do if they have these kids that are this age that are anti-Semitic? I mean, what's that management look like?
I wondered
like,
way
pray.
off that. Yeah, I wondered way off that question.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing is you have to understand that it's a battle.
Okay.
The second thing is you've got to care personally. You've got to demonstrate caring. The first thing to remember is if it's really propaganda and indoctrination really is taking place, then these people are enslaved who hold these beliefs.
Yeah.
So you treat an enslaved person differently. You have a caring concern for them. You don't berate them. You don't belittle them.
Yeah.
I think the third thing in this situation is you bring the facts to bear. We have found that in our polling, if you give someone a fact, they change their view. So that's why having a book as opposed to a TikTok video is really important. Because
30 seconds is not as...
You got 200 some pieces of documentation in the back of the book here. And that is critical because these are from all different kinds of sources. 203. I even quote from Amnesty International, Human Rights Campaign.
Yeah.
They can't stand the existence of the State of Israel. So when they say something, you have to listen. I quote from Arab journalists as well as Jewish journalists. So this book gives the facts of the situation in a way that is changing young minds.
Yeah.
And I've seen it already with this summer through our Summit Ministries programs. I've had dialogues, Q&A sessions, an hour long each. They can ask any question they want.
That's
no
awesome.
media person has ever asked as tough a questions as these students ask.
Wow.
Because they feel safe to ask them here.
Which is, I was just going to say that they feel safe enough to be able to ask that
That's
as well.
right. Yes.
So
That's the nature of Summit Ministries.
Yeah.
But they have asked all those tough questions, and I see them change their minds as they're presented with the facts.
Yeah. So what's your website that people can connect with you?
Go to summit.org to find more information about these programs that we're discussing.
Okay.
They take place here in Manitou Springs, Colorado, and Lookout Mountain, Georgia.
Okay.
And then if you want a copy of the book, I've got one to give to you as a gift.
Awesome.
Just go to summit.org/Israel, and you can sign up for that.
That's amazing. Dr. Jeff, thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Appreciate your time.